Okay, we will be getting started in about 5 minutes. If you can and you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, as while we're waiting for people to get in, go ahead in the chat and put where you're watching from. Well, that way we can see where everyone's coming from. We're waiting for James to be getting in just a minute, and we'll be going over some of the new features that are in our virtual inventory that you can link up with your Shopify site and other integrated platforms. Because virtual inventory with FinerWorks, what's great about it is it works, in the various with various platforms. So we'll be getting started here shortly. Okay. Again, we'll be starting in just a few minutes when James gets in. If you can, go ahead and in the chat, just put where you're watching from, if you're watching live. And looks like a majority of y'all are watching on YouTube. Hi, Lindsay. They're from North Carolina. Thank you for joining us. And like I said, for all of those of you who are entering in right now to the broadcast, just use that chat button right there and you can go ahead and put where you're watching from. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. Richard is watching from Florida. Thanks for joining us, Richard. And I apologize if there's a lag on my video. Don't know why that is still happening. Was just going smooth there. So let's go ahead and stop this. And there is James. So let's add James into the stream. And James, am I sounding kind of jumpy?
Yeah.
And it was going perfect and smooth. The video is nice and clear and flowing, and I don't know. I'll have to look up and read up on some more of this and see if I can figure out why that's happening. Let me go ahead and stop that ticker now. Let's go into our chats. Okay, so we have I don't want to butcher that name, Brzezinski, watching from Cape Cod. Thank you guys for all joining. Like I said, if you're joining us now, just go ahead, use that chat feature, put where you're watching from. We'll be starting in about a minute or so. And I'll let James introduce the topic and give you guys a little information about what's going on here at FinerWorks and how we kind of gotten into this whole new virtual inventory platform or interface, rather.
Yeah. So so I guess it's time to get started here.
Yeah.
So make sure I have my coffee.
Yeah.
With my boss cup.
Yeah.
No one ever reads that for some reason. I don't know why. Whenever I'm walking around holding it, I like hold it like this, see it, and they ignore it for some reason. I don't know why.
Because we all know Rupal's the boss.
Yeah. Or for those of you who are wondering, our our Chief Operations Officer kind of is the queen bee of the company, as my wife put it one day, and she kind of calls the shots. And got a couple of founders, and technically she's one of the founders in the respect that she's really helped develop the company over the past 7, 8 years. So, and we've come a long way. Gosh, I mean, we started this started off as a very small 2-person operation, and now we have somewhere around 40 employees, somewhere close to that now. So we've really grown quite a bit. Um, One of the aspects of FinerWorks has been the things on the technology side, where uh, we focus on trying to utilize technology. Not we don't want to be just known as a company where you can go get something printed at. You can go. There's tons of those on every street corner, or there's tons of there's plenty of them. Around. If you live in any major city or even a small town, you're going to have a print shop close by. But doing what we do, which is printing fine art and photography, uh, and fulfilling orders, in other words, sending those prints to the customers of artists and photographers, is something that we try to focus on. And it's not something you can just do. You have to rely on technology. So emphasizing the technology part has always been important. Part of the that is, I should say, part of the challenges has been over the past uh, number of years is providing the best fulfillment service that we can. Uh, these challenges include, the packaging, the shipping, getting orders out on a timely basis, because I know, especially many of our users that sell on, say, Etsy, they have very strict timelines that have to be followed as far as getting orders out, and we try to meet those timelines. For the vast majority of our customers, even when we post notices of order delays and so forth, we do get their orders out within the allocated time period. So that is something that we are always striving to improve, though, trying to get better at, trying to not just get orders out within the estimated time frame, but get them out quicker than people expect. And so that's really kind of where we're focusing on now, as far as getting orders delivered, or out the door. But going back to the technology aspect, part of the fulfillment service has been something we call virtual inventory, which is what this discussion is going to be about. And virtual inventory is just that. It's inventory that does not truly exist, although as I'll go into detail later on, there is an aspect of it that actually can truly exist. But it generally, virtual inventory is just our products that are meant to be produced. We are a manufacturer that manufactures on demand, which means we only that things are not created. In our case, printed items are not created until that item is ordered. But that doesn't mean that you can't mark it as inventory in your store. Okay. And so we created this virtual inventory uh, uh, database, or created this virtual inventory database for our users to utilize, so that they can actually have inventory in their store that's represented by a SKU or product code, um, and a description. The virtual inventory essentially means that it's an item that we have that we're ready to make when you let us know. And the advantage of having a virtual inventory is you don't have to go through that process of setting up a print, uploading an image file, uh, uh, creating a print each time someone at your store orders that product. Obviously, if you're doing, you know, custom, one ups like a portrait, or a custom,
Edition.
yeah, custom topography artwork or voice print artwork, things that we do a lot of. That's You're not going to really be able to store those in virtual inventory very effectively because they're a one of a kind. But with those that are selling their paintings, their art reproductions is on their website, on Etsy, and so forth, a virtual inventory can be a powerful tool. So we're going to go into what the virtual inventory interface, and we've been working uh, countless hours over the past month on the virtual inventory system and trying to get it to integrate with uh, um online store systems like Squarespace, Shopify. Right now, we have and then we have a little bit of a bug with the Shopify integration. Just FYI, that I discovered today, and I think it had to do with a change in their API that we weren't aware of, but it's something that we'll have fixed by tomorrow. So I'm not too worried about it. But anyway, uh, uh, basically, going to allow your virtual inventory work in conjunction with your Shopify store or your Squarespace store. And eventually, I think we're going to try to make it so that you can actually even create Etsy product listings with it. Um, uh, Someone asked, "Is that why the Shopify button was grayed out?" Actually, it's not grayed out. Uh, the it's just the button is just gray.
Oh,
It's just a light gray. Yeah. So, but right now, uh, the shop the Shopify button is not performing as it's supposed to because of that little bug. But again, we should have that uh, working by tomorrow. But good news is I'll still be able to show you examples of how that works today because version 4 of the virtual inventory interface, which I've been working on, does have that is working for the most part.
mhm.
But we're going to cover a lot of things with virtual inventory and what it does, and I guess and how to utilize it. We had a lot of people that and just I'm sorry, my mind sometimes wanders. Going back to Rodriguez. Uh,
Is that Roderick? Rodriguez?
Rodrika, I think it is. Yeah, to what she initially said. I'm thinking we probably need to change that because you're not the first person to ask about the grayed out button. It has. I am thinking of we probably make it a light green or something like that. But anyway, going back to what I was going to say. What was I going to say before I distracted myself?
About the button. I think you were getting ready on to go into
The
version 4 of.
Yeah, the version for the interface. So we're going to talk about not just how it integrates with products, but we had a lot of people inquiring about, well, or not necessarily inquiring about, saying, they don't like the new interface compared to what it was, especially if those that are utilizing geo galleries. Well, the good news is pretty much all the features, I believe, that were currently there or were previously there are still there. They're just tucked away a little bit. They're a little less obvious, and so we're gonna try to show those people where to access that data, because I know that was a little confusing, and the improvements that we're going to discuss have to do with basically the sorting and being able to keep track of, where was I at, and finding stuff and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to continue to try to make improvements in that area as well.
Yeah.
So I guess I should share my screen, right?
And while you're doing that, James, if you want to, in the chat, those of you watching live, tell us what platforms you are currently selling on using your virtual inventory, if you are already doing so. So while James is getting that ready, just kind of go to the live chat comments and put those in.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm getting some feedback here. Okay, I think we're good now. So to start off with, first we got to know, how do we access the virtual inventory, and where is the virtual inventory located? Well, the virtual inventory is in your account. So if you have registered with FinerWorks, and registration fee does not cost anything to set up an account, you'll find this in your account menu, and that'll appear up typically up at the top where it says My Account. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to Virtual Inventory Products. Now, if you're just starting with FinerWorks, that's going to be empty. But if you been using the virtual inventory, selling on geo galleries, that for those places, then your virtual inventory will be there. Now, before I go into that, let me explain something. Image files. Okay. Virtual inventory is, with the exception of picture frames and mats, are predicated by having inventory files. So inventory files are images that you've uploaded into your account that represent that are going to be utilized for artwork that you plan to sell. For instance, if you have an image like this of this cat, okay, and you wanted to create a print of it, that once you create that print, that's going to become a virtual inventory item. And I'll actually walk through that process right here. So I just clicked on this picture of this cat, just some stock imagery that I downloaded. And when I go to my account and go to inventory files, these files are going to be used strictly to be able to create virtual inventory. Now, I'll be able to go order prints from those afterwards, but once I finish creating the print, that process, it will become a product that I can post in virtual inventory. Now, how is that different? Now, if I go to temporary files are used to be able to store into your, not store, but meant to be ordered immediately. So if I create a print from my temporary files, then that file is going to automatically, or that product is automatically going to be added to my shopping cart, and then I can check out. Now, there's an advantage between temporary files and inventory files. Temporary files are going to be purged from our system after about 1 year, and you can upload a few other formats. Uh, they have a little bit less restrictions on that on the temporary files than with the inventory files, just because we're not going to be storing these files indefinitely.
And it's probably important to note, James, that they're not really interchangeable. You can't go ahead and move a temporary file over to your inventory file without re-uploading to the inventory file. It's not
Yeah.
like you can transfer.
If you're going to be primarily using the virtual inventory files, then you probably don't need to use temporary files. But if you're going to be saying, like I said, doing that custom one-up, where one-time thing for a client, then that's where the temporary files will be utilized. And you go through the same process of creating print, selecting the product, and adding it, the product options, and adding it to your cart. So let's go back to inventory files. And again, these are what the virtual inventory items are going to be based on. So every virtual inventory product has to have an inventory file. So, and that's the hierarchy of it. So you have that product image file, and then you create products from it. So, so again, here we go. We have this cat. I'm going to select a fine art paper print, and I'm going to do it on our watercolor, bright white, at a 1-inch border. And let's say I'm going to make it a 20, let's make it a 16 by 16. And then I'm going to choose a frame and mat choice, and I'll just choose a gallery economy, basic order frame, order a snow white mat, since it's a snow leopard of some sort. And now I'm going to save it to inventory. Now that's it. Now I created that product. Okay. Now I'm in my virtual inventory. Okay. And I can see that product there. Okay. Now I can go access. Now, no, before I go to that, now we're in our virtual inventory screen. Okay. So now you can also access that screen by going to virtual inventory products. So this is the new interface for those of you. I'm going to hopefully this doesn't mess anyone up, or doesn't make. Is this screen readable still, or do I need to zoom?
No, that's a lot smaller.
Okay.
Let me see if I can increase this here too, if this will help a
You
little.
know what? That's fine. How about this? Does this help?
Helps a little. It's just right there. That's a little bit better.
I can zoom in a little bit more. Okay. I'm on this Mac with this huge screen, so kind of. But I think this should. Is this working for everyone, you think?
I think so. And if hopefully y'all are watching this either on a laptop, and if you want to watch on the playback, if you want to cast it to a television where you can actually see it a little bit better.
How's that?
A little better.
Okay. My thing with my screen is just
Yeah. So big.
Yeah. So I'll try to keep the screen relatively small for everyone. Anyway, so what I was saying is, so this is our virtual inventory interface. And we're going to make a few more adjustments here, but nothing that's going to be earth-shattering or hard to that's going to be difficult to fathom as we over the next few days as we make some changes. But this is the screen, and if you remember the old virtual inventory screen, it was a bunch of rows with data, but it wasn't really, it was kind of all jumbled together. It just wasn't very easy to read, I don't think. So first we're going to go to some we're going to start off with what you can include in virtual inventory, okay, and what it can be used for, okay. Allows you to store your prints and frame products, okay. So we recommend, okay, that any products that you're going to have us send to one of your customers on a regular basis, or you expect to be having us fulfill more than once, create it as a virtual inventory product. Also, it's used to help manage your Geo Galleries listings. The way Geo Galleries is structured is if you utilize Shopify or Squarespace, you're familiar with the concept of variants. Well, Geo Galleries kind of does the same thing, where the image is the product and all your virtual inventory items that are tied to that image are like your variants. So, and if you are selling in Geo Galleries, or you have your work list on Geo Galleries, you can utilize it for things like acrylic prints. You can use it for canvas prints, fine art paper prints, Gatorboard, Kodak metal on dye bond or Chromolux, and posters. Of course, you can't list just frames by themselves on Geo Galleries. Geo Galleries is not a place to. It's not meant for you to sell frames. It's meant for Geo Galleries to sell your artwork. Anyway, so just make sure that people understand, why they can't just show frames, empty frames on Geo Galleries, because it's an art gallery. It's not a frame gallery. But you can show art that you have created, like this right here, this cat. I can post that on Geo Galleries in my Geo Galleries account if I wanted to, as long as it's artwork, which is the cat in a frame. And that would become an item, a variant, or a product option on Geo Galleries. So creating a new item from this screen, you can go here, create a print product, and it just brings you back to that screen where we were at and where I created the virtual inventory item. Or if you want to go to files, kind of redundant, but it's the same thing. And you can start that process that we did just a moment ago. To list on Geo Galleries, you would we'll actually get to this after a little bit. Let me finish going through kind of what this interface does. I have a lot of stuff in my virtual inventory. Just a lot of it's due to testing. A lot of it's custom stuff that I've done for clients. They've had us order or print stuff for them. So I use the virtual inventory more or less to test different concepts as well. But anyway, but you can page through the virtual inventory through the pager feature. Now, the cool thing about it is if I refresh this page and I come back to it, let's say I'm on page 5. Let's say I go to a different part of my account and then come back to it. It remembers where I last was on page 5. So it makes it easier if you're doing different tasks and say and go off site and have to come back or what have you. It remembers where you were. Basically, it kind of bookmarks internally where you last were. There's a number of columns here. I'm going to spread out my screen just so we can kind of see some of these, and we're going to talk about these different columns. First of all, we have this checkbox column. Now, this checkbox column allows you to do things in batches, such as I can select all these items and I can click the buy now. It adds all those items to my cart, or I can delete them if I needed to. So it lets you do things in batches, okay? And you don't have to check the box. You can just click on the image, okay, if you want to. And then I'll unclick it by just re-clicking on it. So click, 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 and I have 3 items selected. So I can order all 3 at once, add all 3 to the cart if I wanted to. So here's an example. And people ask us, if they can do that, and or if there's a way for them to add multiple items to their cart from the virtual inventory at once, and the answer is yes by doing that. Okay. Now I'm going to do something. I'm going to turn on a column here, and notice this where it says quantity to order. Now I'm going to go ahead and check that. Okay. Now, when I can just type in a number, I'll put 2, tab it down to next one 5, tab it down to 7, tab it down. So that's the quantity I want to order. Now I'm going to click the buy now, and notice that all those quantities are now in my shopping cart. Okay, so that's a way to quickly order what you need. Okay, now there's another column over here. This over here where it says buy now. Now I can just order. If I don't want to check the box, I can just click buy now and just add that item to the cart. Automatically set the quantity to 1. Even if I don't have that, if I have that set at 0, but I click the buy now, it'll automatically just set the quantity to 1 in my cart. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, remembering where you were at. Let's say if you were on page 4 and I buy now, I buy that, and then I go back to my virtual inventory. Remember, I was last on page 4. Now I can scroll down to the next page if I want to. So does that make sense, Melissa?
Yeah. In our previous version, and this is a question that came up with somebody before, volume discount did not show in this screen. It wasn't until you got to your cart that you would see the volume discount. And this is another reason why that quantity to order is so important for some people. They sell online, but maybe they're selling for shows as well, so they need to order some for themselves. And you get a volume discount with this. So when James is changing those quantities, your price is showing there what your FinerWorks price is. And when you go into your shopping cart, you're going to see that price, if you've ordered more than one, change for your volume discount.
Correct. So if I put in and that's I need to actually write that down to remind myself, but that's something that we want to. I don't know if I can find my pen, Melissa. If you can write it down.
I have it.
But actually, what we do want to do is right now, if I put 1, the price here stays the same. But If I change the price of my shopping cart, you see that the cost per print becomes less because of built-in volume discounts.
Mhm.
And this is something that we do want to add in here, so you can actually calculate your price, your
Mhm.
volume discount here without having to add it to your cart. But
And
now that's not yet hasn't yet happened.
okay, and also, James, this step is important for those who may not be using integration, who are not in, they don't have multiple orders. So maybe they're going to come back to put in orders at FinerWorks. Maybe not, maybe they're only going to do 3 in one day out of the whole week.
Mhm.
And this is nice when you're going to go ahead and you're going to build an order off of your virtual inventory, and you're going to be manually inputting a drop ship order. Um, and you want to have it as a drop ship just so, again, your customer doesn't see your FinerWorks price. And it will also look like it came from you because your business logo, if you uploaded that, will be on the drop ship invoicing slip.
Mhm. Correct. So, okay, so let me go to the next uh, column. You know what? I need to go to show these options here. I
Yes.
forgot about that. And I'm going to kind of, well, I'm
We're
going to,
taking a tour of
yeah,
the interface
basically
right
that's what we're going to do here. Um, Settings, details, and inventory level. Now, this is very important, especially for geo gallery sellers. Okay. Uh, uh, this is where you can indicate if you want this product option to be listed in geo galleries. Okay. So if you are selling or having your work being uh, uh, made available for sale on geo galleries, or you want to make your prints available for sale in geo galleries, it's going to be very important that you check this box. And as long as it's one of these product types, which it is, um, you can list it there. Now, you'll also want to give it a name. In this case, you maybe like something that's easy for people to read, like you just
like
all. This is kind of difficult to read, but something like
Snowcat.
16, yeah, or in 16 by 6 or in a 18 by 18-inch frame. Something
Well, is that going to be that wouldn't be the image title, right? That shows up on GeoGal. This would be the
that just
product title.
yeah, this is the product title.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's you can give you don't have to because we'll give it a default product title, but you can customize that product title there. Um,
Which is great for sorting later.
yeah, it is, and finding stuff. Now you can also use it to buy now. You can modify the print. So if I click on modify, it'll bring me back to my modify screen, and I can actually make changes if I want to. Um, go back to that screen settings. Um, and then inventory tracking. Okay. Now, this right here is it doesn't do it. All it does is it gives you a a record to know how many uh, you you've gone through. Um, so, for instance, if I put in a quantity of 100, okay, and I check this auto update when ordered, every time that I uh, order from this virtual inventory item, or it's ordered from geo galleries, or yeah, every time it's actually ordered, it'll subtract whatever the quantity was. So if I order 2 copies of these, then the quantity of stock will go down to 98. Right now, this inventory tracking is kind of just it's there. It'll probably be used, have a greater role in the future, and maybe even be utilized with the Shopify and Squarespace integration. But right now, it's just for your own internal records. Now, we do use it. I Earlier, I said virtual inventory is a virtual inventory. There are some exceptions. We do have users um, that we actually print stuff in bulk for them, and we store those items. There's that one famous actor. Oh, I forgot what show
And
it was, but that we did a bunch of his photo prints.
mhm.
And so we actually had to keep he came in and signed and numbered each print, and so it was used for that purpose. So um, it was a way for us to help keep track of prints that he actually had in physical inventory. So um,
So it's a good way to help you with number additions. If you're doing
yeah,
100 and you're, like I said, you make the order, you have it sent to you, you sign and number it. If you're not keeping a spreadsheet with that information, this is one way to kind of help you stay on track with that.
yeah.
Um, are there any platforms right now, James, that require a quantity set on the vendor's product that
Uh,
you know of?
uh, what was that question again?
Do you know right now if there's any platforms, selling platforms like Shopify, Etsy, that require the vendor to have a quantity to show
Um,
that
no, the way
I
no, pretty much all of them let you decide if you want to um, keep it in if so with Shopify and Squarespace. Okay, you can choose whether or not you want that product to um, continue to be available, basically track inventory, are basically not track inventory, or if you want to restrict it by inventory.
Mhm,
So, for instance, if you only want to make 10 copies of this available on Shopify, you can do so through the Shopify interface, or you can say, you know what, don't track inventory, just make it, you know,
open.
continue to make it available. And so one of the things we'll end up doing, I'm sure pretty soon, is we'll use that inventory to help control that aspect. So if you want to make inventory available, or if you want to limit how much of the virtual inventory is available on Shopify or Squarespace, that tool will be useful there. So let's go to the next step. So go to File. Go to File is basically going to that main image file, that main, that determines what your products are. And this is also useful for GeoGalleries users. This is where you can put a creative.
Activate your image basically by doing
Yeah,
those there's some fields that are mandatory to make your image active on your geo galleries.
yeah. So I'm going to call this no leopard. Did I spell that correctly? Yes. And then this is a big cat. Oh. And then display status. This is kind of this is for GeoGallery people selling on GeoGalleries.
Mhm,
If you've not joined GeoGalleries, then this really is not going to have all that of importance to you.
mhm.
And then you can select, category, that sort of thing. Um, and then from your personal collections that you create in GeoGalleries, you can select that as well.
Mhm.
Since this is not my artwork, I'm not going to list it there. but I'll go ahead and update it just so we have that description and title. And then now products. This is another rendition of the virtual inventory screen that we were just on, but it only is showing me virtual inventory of that particular image.
Yeah.
That's based on that image. So again, so you can go to. I'm going to go back to virtual inventory products. And I'm going to click on go to file, and that will limit it to just that particular inventory, or it'll bring me to that screen, and then under the products or virtual inventory tab, it'll just be for that particular image. Yeah. The use this template. Okay. Now this people, I think, not clear or a little confused of what this means. Basically, this means that you can use this as a template to create a new product for your virtual inventory, but you would use a different image. So if I click on use template and click on this screen and click on that, save to inventory.
It's allowing you to keep your specs to different images.
Yeah. So if I'm going to have if I want to make a bunch of images, 16 by 16 by on in the same type of frame, I can go back and do that, and now it's added there. Now, if I go to file, it's going to go to this particular item, and all the products that I've had using that particular image is there now. So that's a pretty powerful tool because it lets you bypass the whole selection process and you select the image you want to use. Now, use as template down here adds a new item to your shopping cart. It's basically the same thing, but rather than add the item to your virtual inventory, it adds it to your shopping cart. So if I click on this and then I click on, let's say I click on this, notice I get my temporary files here to choose from. And there we go. Now I add it to my cart. And once it finishes thinking about everything and whether or not it wants
great.
to add.
Like if you have something, let's say you have, for instance, this image in your inventory, and then you do something like you make a personal greeting or something onto these images, you would do that personal greeting in your temporary, and you would keep the specs of what your virtual inventory is of that 16 by 16 on bright white with the snow white matte in that frame style and collection.
Yeah.
And that would be like an instance you would use something like that.
Correct. So anyway, and you just saw how I added that product to the cart. So those are nice tools. And then of course you can delete individually. Again, you can also, you need to delete multiple, you could do it that way as well.
James, with that function, when you're using that as a template for inventory, are you able to use the what is it? Our where you can do multiple images at one time in their inventory. So, like if you go to your use template for inventory, and you go to your post to view,
and then
are you like when you add the image in there? Say anyone, and then you do batch file. You're able to use that there. Okay.
Absolutely. So I'm going to click on batch, and I'm going to click on this one, save to inventory. Oh, I forgot. Click on include selected.
Yeah, got it.
But I would click on include selected. So let's try that again. So
you'll see them populate onto the left-hand side of the screen when you've done that.
Where was I? Okay. Let me select this, else this. I already have that in there, but that's okay. I can have it in there more than one time if I want to. And then I click on, let's say I click on, let's find some other square images. I guess I don't really have any squared images.
I always say just for, we'll just pretend on the aspect ratio is all the same on this.
Yeah, let's say.
And some images will lend themselves nicely to
Yeah, I guess it
a
really.
one by one.
Let's do these. Include selected.
My option, John.
And then, okay, now I'm going to save to inventory.
Let's see.
And there you go. Got all those items in there. Or do I? I'm missing some. Okay, I have to look at that, see, but because it looks like only that first item got added.
Okay.
All right, I'll have to figure out why that.
But it will be available once you've that.
Okay. Write that down, Melissa.
I got it. Yeah, I have my little thing here.
Yeah.
And
that feature was working. I guarantee you that, but I don't know why it's not now.
It's live. That's why.
But okay, so now let's go to some of these other columns. Okay, so item quantity order, we talked about that. Inventory options. Okay. And that kind of moves it over here, and it shows the basically the number of items we have in stock when I check that box. So it opens up a column. So when you check or uncheck these columns, it hides them and opens them because you might not need all this stuff. It also shows the track inventory, whether or not you have that checked. Shopify status is checked, Squarespace. Now, what these will mean is whether or not you have that product if you're currently listing it in Shopify. So if you have that product and you've synced it with Shopify, and we'll get to that toward the end here, or not to the end, but in a little while, we'll talk about syncing. This will be checked, and so you know that item's listed with Shopify. GeoGallery status, similar, lets you select to see if it's listed. Now, some of these columns you can sort by, okay, and they'll be highlighted by a hyperlink. Others you can't, and I believe the Shopify and Squarespace, you'll be able to sort those soon. Not yet, you can't. Name, that's where that custom name comes in. Remember how if I come over here and click on settings, and I call this seashell in frame, and save. See, that's where the name seashell in frame is. We also have the description. Now, this is the same type of description that we use in your shopping cart on the invoice. This is a prescribed prescription that we utilize for everything. It's kind of formatted in this fashion with a bunch of bulleted list points. And it's also for our production department, so they can easily match up order items to invoices and that sort of thing, and packing slips. Excuse me. Custom description. Again, this is where the custom description was. And you can kind of, some of these fields, you can kind of expand it, kind of customize it. Date added. This was the date. And this is in Central Time, and I have to kind of expand it to see. So this, as you can see, this gets a little cluttered. The more columns you show, but a lot of these columns people want, but not
Well,
everyone wants every one of these columns. So I don't need that right now. I'm not interested in that. Let's say I don't sell on Shopify um, or Squarespace. Um, and actually, some of these Shopify, Squarespace, and GeoGalleries, those won't even show up for you unless you're actually connected to those services. So name, description, I'll turn some of these off just so we have more room to view things. Uh, uh,
to note, James, all of the fields with the blue link buttons up at the top are the fields or the columns that can be sorted. So
correct, correct, yeah. Right now, pricing can't because the pricing uh, algorithm is so complex at times. Uh, the concern is that it would slow loading time
mm,
because it has to calculate the pricing every time it loads just because of the um, uh, it's just it's kind of a pain, but
yeah. And
um,
and also note, like I said, we do have some users that sell on multiple platforms that having this option and view is really useful for them because some of them are selling on geo galleries while selling on Shopify, Etsy.
correct,
Sometimes you get people who are really trying to test at multiple platforms to see where they do the best at. And some have it too because, maybe they get different kinds of buyers on different sites and pricing options. Like with geo galleries, you can only do a three times the price for your retail, whereas they may end up deciding, okay, well, I'm going to do that with my paper prints only, maybe on my geo galleries. However, on my Etsy, I'm going to offer canvas prints that I have framed because framing when you on geo galleries you're only going three times the cost of the paper,
yeah,
the canvas, the wood, not the frame. And in some cases, people up their frame cost. So they may offer framing selections, maybe just on their Shopify.
mhm,
So this is an amazing tool, James, to have this like that because to see which ones are on and off will let you kind of go down and scroll and kind of quickly do this as opposed to having spreadsheets open. And I'm a spreadsheet person where I need to go to see, oh, do I have that listed on this store over here? That this kind of gives you a nice all-in-one dashboard to do
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
It does, and that's kind of the intent is to be able to view what you have available, and as we add more services, you'll see more columns that can be that there'll be more columns available. I think after we finish getting Squarespace set up, I think Wix is next, I believe.
Wow.
I know a lot of people use the Wix e-commerce system for their store. Weebly, I think, is another one we're looking at adding. We hope to have WooCommerce at some point, but we need some help with that. So if anyone knows a good WooCommerce developer, that
Send their information over to customer care at FinerWorks.com.
yeah. Um, uh, where was I? Okay. A couple others fields that we want to, you can turn the pricing one on off if you don't need it. Product details, but I'm going to turn on the SKU and product code, and we're going to talk about this. And the image title. The image title. What the original image that this was assigned to. Um, uh, Snow leopard, which was what we titled the image earlier. So both of these are, so you can kind of use that to sort by image title if you want to, if you have image titles to sort by. Um, so, um, so anyway, yeah. So let me go back to the. Okay, there's. Um, Let me go back to what I was talking about. Product codes. Let me turn this off since we want to just talk about product codes and SKUs. Um, this is something that I think people get a little confused on. What is a SKU? What is a product code?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And it's not. I guess it's not the most important thing when it comes to managing virtual inventory. But if you are uh, uh, if you are selling on Etsy, um, there is a big difference for many Etsy sellers. Many of our Etsy sellers do sell the same pieces over and over again, and they utilize our Etsy import tool, where you basically our Etsy app, where it lets you import the product that you sold and the order details and transmit them to us. Now, the uh, advantage of that is that it saves, you can import multiple Etsy orders all at once, especially if you sell a lot on Etsy, frequently. A lot of our Etsy sellers sell, you know, receive multiple orders for us to fulfill, or send multiple orders for us to fulfill every day, because they receive multiple orders a day. And so it's very useful for that. But there's a time where in their Etsy listing where they'll want to use a SKU, and then there's a time where they'll want to use a product code. If you are selling on Etsy custom made uh, character sketches, okay, on a fine art paper, where you let's say send me your photo, I'll make a caricature sketch of you or your family, with and I'll send it to you. In other words, it's I'm going to be doing it one time, making one print and sending it to you. Well, that's when you'd want to use a product code, because when you plug in that product code and you receive the product code, then when you import that order into when we receive that order uh, through the import app, that order details, or send us the order details, this lets us or lets the app know that you need to also upload an image file that corresponds with that product code. That product code basically represents this everything but the image. So it represents this, okay, this particular product minus the image. Now, when you import that order using something like the Etsy app, or even if you're a Shopify app, if there is no, if you're using a product code, that'll let you choose at the time of import what image you want to print. So um, that's the purpose of product code. Product code simply represents the the specs of the print, not what gets printed, not the image file. The SKU, on the other hand, uh, is different in the fact that it also represents the specs, but also is specific to that particular image. So within that particular, see where it says P, every SKU will have a P with a series of numbers. Well, that number right here actually represents the uh, the it links to the actual image, within the database. Um, it's not the ID number of the image, but it does link to that particular image. So when we receive a SKU in our processing system, we know what image to retrieve based upon the SKU. And we also know what product to produce based upon the SKU. Whereas if we only received a product code, we would know what product to produce, but we wouldn't have an image unless you also supplied us an image, which is what you can do within the app. So the product code is simply our code that represent the particular type of product, but a SKU is where you're going to probably utilize more in the virtual inventory, because that's going to represent the actual ID of each one of these products. And each one of those will be unique. While with the product codes, I could have multiple items in virtual inventory with the same product codes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So that kind of goes through the different columns. And now the couple other things we want to talk about. I'll turn something. I don't want that one on. Is the search and filter feature. Okay, so we've made some improvements on the search to make it a little bit easier to find stuff. Like if I type in snow, obviously, and I don't know why this came up. Oh, this came up because it's using the Snow White mat. Okay, and all these, yeah, the Snow White map is popular. I don't know why that one shows up. There must be something in the description. So the search lets you, basically it searches the description, searches SKUs, product codes, everything. If I'm gonna refresh that. I can also, if I just want to show acrylic plaques, I can do so. Or so different. These are the different product types that we offer. Just want to show canvases, I can do that as well. Image title. So this is the title of the original image. Now this list can get really long. And I was helping a customer of ours debug this, and they had uploaded, they had something like 200 images in their account, and I get it in here was trying to help them debug it, and all their images had like these, titles like this. So it was like, okay, well, that feature was kind of useless in that particular case. But if they had gone in and gave each image a easy to read title, then it would have been a little bit more useful tool. This is similar. It shows specifically which file they use. So if you prefer to keep track of things that way, you can filter by files used as well. That was the name of the original file name. You can choose how many pages. Now we list up to 100, but we may have to dial that back to limit it to 50. Some users have experienced some problems with the 100, and I don't know if it's on our end or if it's in their browser. I think it has to do with some people's web browsers. I don't think I have 100 items in here, but it loaded pretty fast for me, as you saw. But so I'm guessing, in all likelihood, some people's browsers do get bogged down. So we may dial it back to only about 50 to limit it to 50. Plus, when we're trying to sync with services like Shopify and Squarespace, they put limits to how many products we can retrieve at once. I think 50 is the limit for both of those. So if you're trying to see if items are synced with them, we have to reach out to them, behind the scenes, from a code perspective, and check with their system to see, okay, is a product there? And then they respond back, yes, it is, or no, it's not. Again, this is a bunch of ones and zeros talking to each other, and but it lets us only do like 50 items or variants at a time. I'm gonna put it on back on 10. Date added from and date added to. So if I want to just show items that I added today, I can. I think I've got a bug with that. I think it has to do with the. Probably need to set that. Yeah, need to set that for tomorrow. If you don't mind writing that down, Melissa.
Yeah, what was that, James, right there?
The date added to. I need to. We need to figure out why it's not. It wasn't working if I selected from between. Well, let's see. Like if today, what is today? Today is the 6th, right? So let's try that again. Yeah. So I have to select
date range. Okay.
And this shows all the items that we added during this session, basically. So,
got that.
So anyway, except for that little bug, now let's go into some of the syncing stuff. I think I mentioned that there was a little bit of a bug that discovered with the Shopify syncing, and we are still working on the Squarespace syncing. So that's really just that should be actually grayed out, just because it's not fully functional yet, but it should be within another day or two. But let's talk about Shopify syncing first. Okay. Now, Shopify syncing simply means that you want to make these products available as product variants on Shopify. Now, I have my test store up on Shopify. Let me remove those. We're gonna add a couple products to Shopify. This is my little test store called FinerWorks Inventory. And I'm going to click on my Shopify status just so I can see that these items are not there. Now I'm going to click on these, and I'm going to click on Shopify syncing. Oh, you know what? No, before I do that, let me make a quick detour just because I forgot to turn something back on when I was running some tests. So I'm going to go to our version 4 real quick. It's basically the same interface. Just now I'm going to go to Shopify syncing. Okay. And let me delete that. Oh, I got one of those published already, or thinks I do. I do. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let me start all over again. Okay, so I'm going to select these two products. I'm going to click on Shopify syncing. And I have a title. I have a description. It just took the default description that I had already entered. I'm going to click on status of active. And this is an optional field that you can use for your Shopify listings. It's just kind of a way to.
Oh, yeah, we can't see your Shopify store, James. We can only see.
Yeah, well, okay. I may have to adjust my screen sharing. Just a moment. Okay, and I'll just copy and paste that.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Now I'm going to call this framed print, and I'm going to call this a canvas print. Now notice the price here. I don't want to sell it for the same price it cost me, so I'm going to sell it for $150, and this one $100. $180. I don't know. Just pick a price, okay? And I'm going to click on save and hope it doesn't explode. Okay, and there we go. You see that now it's listed on Shopify. Now I'm going to come over here and I guess I got to share my screen. Oh no. Let me get to, how do I do that?
Go back.
Need to stop screen. I think I need to stop and, okay, let me share it again. And Chrome.
Yeah.
Here we go. So here we are now. I'm on my Shopify products interface after I published it. And you can see that I have Snow Leopard here. Now, if I click on that and go to the details, it'll show I have the two different variants and the pricing that I had set up. Okay. So that's basically how you add to the sync with Shopify. Pretty straightforward. The good news is now if someone orders that, and if I have the auto mode set in my Shopify user preferences settings set for auto retrieval, the moment that order is received, that order is placed on your Shopify store, FinerWorks will receive that order. It'll be sent over to FinerWorks, and we'll start the fulfillment process. So we already have some use. That's a relatively new feature. I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. I'm going to go back to the virtual inventory screen. Lindsay, right now I'm on version 4. So we're working on a bug that we discovered with Shopify. So it should be back available either late tonight or sometime tomorrow for you to be able to utilize the Shopify syncing feature. So just bear with us for a little bit, but while we get that back up online. But I wanted to show it to you guys since that was what we were planning on doing anyway. Yeah. Let me go ahead and stop sharing and then share screen, go back to the original. So, okay. Anyway, so that's essentially the way it works as far as the Shopify syncing. The Squarespace syncing will be almost exactly alike. The only difference is if I click on this and I click on Squarespace syncing, it will show, it's basically the same screen. A few different things with Squarespace, and again, this option will be available real shortly here. We're just testing some final things with it. But the Squarespace product syncing is almost available. With one of the things with syncing with Squarespace is you actually need to first create a product page or store page in your Squarespace dashboard. Squarespace won't let us do that from here, so that's something you have to first create in your dashboard. Going back to, I'm going to close that. But one of the things is after, let me go ahead and add, because I can add those to Squarespace. I'm going to Sorry. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna give a price 200, 180 or 68. I don't know. I'm gonna save that, and now the Squarespace saving seems to take a little bit longer, just because they have kind of a wonky way of retrieving the image file, and that can takes a little bit longer for them to respond, so it's not as quick. So anyway, so let me click on this and figure out why it should show. For some reason it's, and I'll have to figure out why, but it's part of this bug. Oh, let me turn on that. Okay, so we have the Squarespace options checked. I don't know why the Shopify one's not checked. I'll have to figure out why that got removed, because the products are still there. Let's see. If I click on Shopify syncing, yeah, I'm not quite sure why, but we'll figure that out within the next day or so. But essentially that is virtual inventory.
I think Lindsay's got a question there. Is there going to be a way to link a SKU to an existing product as a variant, or only to create new products?
We hope so. And that's one of the things uh, we were looking at when we discovered this little Shopify bug right now. Is what's right now, just to what's the best way to describe it is, the Shopify syncing bug has to do with a response from Shopify. So whenever we request info from Shopify, whether or not a product is listed with them, they have to respond back. Again, it's ones and zeros talking to each other. We're getting empty responses, or we're getting zeros instead of ones. is one way of putting it, when we know that the product's there, and we're trying to figure out. Shopify is looking into it to see why it's responding with zeros instead of ones, to indicate what. That may be why we were not getting those check boxes, and may be related to that. But we want to make sure that feature is, we're getting the accurate live information, and I think it has to do with an update in their API that they recently made that we need to just account for. So they've been pretty good at getting back to us on that. So again, we should have that worked out within the next day or so. But once we have that worked out, then I'll be more comfortable with figuring out a way for us to be able to take your existing inventory that you have listed on Shopify and figuring out how to sync that with your virtual inventory. Right now, the only problem with that is what we'll probably have to do is, there'll probably be like a form where you select from a list of products that you want to link to, because if you create a product in Shopify and you don't have a SKU, or if you have something else as a SKU, then we're going to have to figure out, okay, how do we link let me show this SKU here. Let's say it's something else with this. Okay, so that's what or I'm sorry, you guys couldn't see that screen. but how do we link this SKU with the one that might be different in Shopify? So I hope that answer made sense, but something we are working on, and hopefully it'll be an easy fix for everyone.
Yeah. And I was looking at Lindsay's account just a second ago. She is having an issue when she does the options under a particular product under her virtual inventory. She's not getting the full menu. And she's working on Edge. I'm working on Chrome. The only thing that shows up was like the settings and delete. So she doesn't get that uses template in inventory. She doesn't get that full menu. I screenshot that
Okay.
and I'll get you her user ID also, and maybe you can take a look. So it's not, Lindsay, just to let you know, it wasn't specific to the Edge browser because I'm on Chrome. Are there any limitations with browsers, James?
No, that might be just something we've overlooked that we should be able to figure out why pretty quickly.
Okay.
So we should have that option available to you soon. Just Melissa will write that down and we'll get that worked on. Virtual inventory. This is you wouldn't think so, but it has been a pretty complex piece of pretty complex application, surprisingly so, much more complex than I expected it would be. So little things like that can sometimes be easily overlooked, and we'll definitely want to get that resolved pretty quickly because I know this is a very, very useful tool. So, So.
Yeah. And like I said, with anything, there's always a learning curve. Almost everything that you had there before is still there. You're just able to kind of really customize your view on how you're going to use your virtual inventory, and that's great because with filling as a print on demand and the word custom in doing that fulfillment, this really is a reflection of that. It is custom for every customer's need to kind of tailor it the way they want to. And if you're having any issues with these, as you guys are working in it, and like I said, if a bug comes up, like I said, there's two sides that have to communicate. There's us and whoever the selling platform is. Whenever you're having an issue, please screenshot when you're sending that to customer care at FinerWorks, because this is how we're going to be able to best expedite helping you. So send us a screenshot, just like you see James's screen on here. Screenshot it, send it with the issue that you're having, and that'll help. And usually, if I can't answer it, I pass it along to James. But customer service or I will try to help you. And like I said, if it stumps us, then we'll get it to James, and James will take his magic developer wand and fix everything. um,
or we'll have someone or I'll have someone do it for us.
yeah. So like I said, I've been watching James kind of do all of this stuff, and it's kind of domino into really, I want to say it's dominoed into kind of being we decided, oh, let's go ahead and touch this platform now. Oh, you know what? Let's look at the Wix platform now. So this was actually a good time. I believe what spurred this on was that Shopify had an update coming out in September requesting that is it like the vendors of the apps kind of followed a protocol or so, right, for them? Is that what kind of?
Well, yeah, it was that. It was also Etsy.
That one was right out of the blue, yeah.
Yeah, they announced that in the third quarter of this year that we're going to discontinue the previous version of their API, and I never got any notification of that, and I just happened to stumble upon that accidentally, and I was like, oh darn. I mean, that could happen. They didn't say when. They just said sometime this quarter, and I was like, okay, well, could that mean like tomorrow?
Yeah.
And so we kind of scrambled to update everything for the Etsy app, and so far uh, didn't see. So far, it seems that the updates that we've done have been relatively painless, or we were able to do the updates pretty quickly and easily without having to make any major changes. I will say this, that there were some features in the old version which is not present in the new version, and I don't think it's been a huge, or we haven't had anyone indicate that that's been a huge problem, but we found a kind of a uh, I guess a workaround to but hopefully they re-implement that feature that they did have in this new version. What we're talking about, we're talking about what in the programming world we call APIs. APIs are basically that connective are those connections between one website and another, or one app and another app or another service. And um, Shopify has an API, Squarespace, Etsy, even we have our own API for third parties to connect to us. But uh, some of these platforms, their APIs, some are better than others. Some are more, have more features. Some are very difficult to use. So it's kind of weeding through all that and making sure that we're utilizing their API correctly so that we can take advantage of the different features that their API is supposed to offer. So we can provide a more powerful integration tool uh, along with the virtual inventory.
I think customer service had one question that came in today regarding virtual inventory, and it wasn't really in producing, but it's the mock-up images. And I tell people, on GeoGalleries, the image that you see in post is going to be a different image than you see here in virtual inventory. Is that correct, James? Like as far as how these images are created?
Yes and no. The virtual inventory images generally are going to be uh, and not all types of products. Certain types of products are going to be utilizing something called an SVG file, and we do that just to speed up the rendering of the preview. The actual product mock-up, that's produced a different way. Doesn't have to be as quick and nimble in its loading, um, at least on the onset. So it's something that's rendered when the product is being stored as a bitmap, as a JPEG, or actually as a PNG. So those files tend to be a little larger, and but we need to be able to create, fairly large previews when you're creating your print that wouldn't slow the loading down.
Mhm.
So there are some differences. Uh, both formats have their strengths and weaknesses, so there might be some slight differences in the rendering. And we're trying to address those where it's important. In some cases, it can be, but most cases, it's not that big of a deal.
So if somebody wants their mock-up image, would it be best to go to the options and modify and get to the post and right-click that image? Would that be a bigger image for them to work with and use?
Um, no, uh, what we might do, and I have to see if we want to do this, is maybe provide an option for people to see. So the images that you see in post, those can be larger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, am I still? Yeah, I'm still
You're
sharing.
still sharing. Uh-huh.
Okay. So if I click on uh, settings, okay, uh, and I click on inspect, you can see that this.
Oh, there's a bit.
Where is it? Down here, you can. Oh, I guess you don't have it there. Where is it? Uh, Open image and tab. Okay. Well, you guys can't see this, but I can get the image details. I think this is 800 by 800 pixels.
Okay.
So so it's not the largest file, and you may want to have something bigger. So what I'm thinking we might want to do is have a button where you can generate a higher resolution image copy of it that you could then download, because we have all the data that, and we can easily generate a higher quality preview with just a click of a link if need be. So
Mhm.
maybe that might be the key to that, because some of those thumbnails are a little, and just they're rendered a little too low resolution for some websites.
Yeah, I'm like looking to see what image size. I think on Shopify you can upload images up to 4,472, like a square,
Yeah,
and up to 20 megabytes, but typically recommend 2,048 by 2,048 pixels. So, um, when you're making your mock-ups, just note those image sizes, and like James said, maybe we'll find a way to make those available for you guys on here. I think that would be a nice maybe update on the next round out.
yeah. I can probably get that to happen pretty quick. I think that
Yeah.
was.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be neat. Kind of like I guess like our virtual file sharing link when people want to go ahead and send the link out. That would be kind of neat if it's an option next to each image and they would just select the column to be active and go ahead and right click that, or a drop down in the options.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
read.
just to going back to that question about why the item, those the product option used as template
Mhm.
options were not showing up. Question I have is, what type of products were those?
Oh, let me see. I did screenshot it. Let me pop that back open. FinerWorks. That was Leachu. Let me get down to hers here. There it is. Um, let's see. Well, it takes a second to open. Cards.
Okay, cards. Those do not give those options. Okay, I got to see why. I know picture frames and mats don't give you those options because they don't use post. Cards use post, or print set online setup tool, but there's some limitations with the cards that may be preventing that. So
Mhm.
it might be because they're cards.
Yeah,
Uh,
because cards, like, we don't I know for geo galleries, we don't support it
correct.
because it's not
It,
it's a hard item to have sell on there, because normally by the time somebody
well,
checks out, you could have an
yeah,
$8 card.
yeah, it actually has to do with uh, more has to do with post and how post is configured. So
Mhm.
that might be why, because they're cards. But we can see if that's something that will work with some updates that we made recently, and maybe that's a non-issue.
Yeah, I know that was like one thing that has been asked about is making sets out of cards where they could have several images, and that way it would be one product where it's five
Yeah,
images and
yeah, it's kind of hard to do because the
yeah,
way the
the image tying to this. Yeah.
batching is done with cards versus other types of products.
Yeah. So Lindsay, try creating a different product on there, like a matte frame or something like that, or just a regular paper print, and you should see those options appear. So for right now, it's because it is the cards
Yeah, yeah.
inventory.
Any like a paper print or a frame print will show up, but if just a picture frame, again, you something I kind of touched on earlier is you can add picture frames and mats. Right now, you can't sync those to Shopify or Squarespace if you want to sell frames or mats, but we do hope to make that available soon.
That'll be a nice feature to have. It'll be great for you guys to have because of our pricing. You'll be able to upsell those really well. Like I said, I never. I think for me, I never noticed I didn't have my employee discount on this because the previous gallery I worked at, my employee discount still had some of these frames sitting about $700-800, and yeah, they're good size frames. And I think I was paying, like when I did our retail, I think I was coming up to $200. I just thought, oh wow, look at that that discount, and wasn't realizing that that actually just was our retail. So we have a really really good pricing on our frames, and I think that's going to be a great just avenue to open up for artists because you'll be able to sell different variations of frames for your work and for your customers.
Well, it's 8:07. We
Yeah,
probably should
we're going to go ahead and close that down. James, did you have any
now.
announcements? I don't know, as far as flow or anything going on right now.
Stay tuned for we do have a special coming up hopefully tomorrow. I'm not going to announce it, but if you like certain fine art papers that begin with an H and made in Germany, then there might be an opportunity for you tomorrow or Wednesday.
We'll have that in our newsletter. It'll also be on our FinerWorks site with that product code so that you can have that at your checkout.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to have the product code
This
to get out today, but during today's broadcast, but I forgot to set it up. So,
so we'll have that coming out. Just go ahead and go to FinerWorks.com. We thank you guys for joining us. We thank you for all of your input during this process of getting it. We also thank you for your patience while this is basically changing the wheels on the race car. And like I said, we are still experiencing, I think, a little bit of a delay in getting some things out, but we're getting those out as soon as possible. We have
they're getting caught up. Matter of fact, I got all heck because when we decided to do regarding this upcoming special, just because the paper cutting department is just overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, we added one or two more printers, wide format printers today too, and or we're adding those today just because they said they didn't have enough. So anyway,
and if you're waiting for a reply, please check your spam or your promotion folders in your email. I know customer service, we had a longer holiday and they came back to a couple hundred emails. So they are responding as quick as possible, and they are waiting on replies from some people. And those emails might be in your spam or promotion folder. So just take a look there and please respond so that we can expedite getting your orders out to you guys. Again, thanks again, and we'll see you guys next month. Have a great one.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.